Good evening. I'm Sharon Prindle. I'm the principal of Wakefield Forest, and I'm excited to be here with you tonight and have the opportunity to talk about parenting and some of the challenges that we, face in that role. In addition to being a principal for I don't know, at least 7 years, an administrator for 17. I'm also a mom and I have two daughters. One is 13 and one is 11. And I'm excited to partner with Fairfax County and with Marcus, who's here tonight to share some information with us. And I'll hand it off to him, and he'll kind of be leading us through tonight, and we'll be working together. So thanks for being here.
And thank you, Sharon. And as Sharon mentioned, my name is Marcus Garr, and I am with the Parenting Education Programs with Fairfax County government. And I have been working with Fairfax County now for about 8 years myself. I actually started out as a volunteer with the county, and I am now the supervisor of the program. And so, obviously I enjoy, um, working with parents, children, families in general. I'm happy to be here this evening with you all. I've been working with children, youth, and families for a long time. I spent a couple of years working in DC for a small nonprofit called Sasha Bruce. And before that, I spent 10 years where I lived and worked in Kentucky. And I directed after school and mentoring programs for um, a program housed at a HBCU, so historically Black College University, for children and youth and their families. So, of course, been working with children and families for a mighty long time. Um, and on a personal note, I do have an 11-year-old myself who seems to be going on 21. Keeps me on my toes, all that good stuff. Um, I do have some experience with parenting, um, personally, as well as in the professional realm as well. Um, so that's just a little bit about myself. I am a Kentuckian, so I'm also a huge University of Kentucky fan. I had no choice. I was born into it. I wouldn't change it, but um, and I'm a big football fan, so I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan as well. So that's just a little bit about me before we get started. Um, as we get started, of course, we're going to be talking a little bit about managing our anger and managing anger in our children. And I will say that this is I like to have a relaxed atmosphere for discussion and questions and all those kinds of things. So I highly encourage you all to, interact. That's when me sitting up here, I can talk to you all for an hour, and tell y'all what I want y'all to hear. But learning really happens when we interact and we have questions and those kind of things. I'll throw out some questions to you all. Hopefully you will have some volunteers to unmute and answer those questions. If you don't feel comfortable, you can type into the chat, but I highly encourage, folks to kind of just, interact and those kinds of things because, you know, those kinds of things is when we really get the most from these kinds of um, webinars and those kinds of things. And I see names, so Molly might ask a question, and it might be helpful for Rebecca, even though she didn't ask the question, and that kind of thing. And Wendy might ask a question, and Amy might be able to give Wendy some insight, in regards to what maybe worked for them or those kinds of things. So we're all in this together. I'm considered a parenting expert, but we're all experts because we are all parents who are here. So just keep that in mind as we jump into things this evening. Okay. And so the first thing I really want to do is throw a question out to you all, and hopefully we can get some answers. we're going to be talking about anger. And so I just want to get some definitions or of anger. What is it? What is anger? Does anybody want to just kind of just give a definition? There's no right or wrong answer necessarily, but we're just trying to just brainstorm what anger might be.
I feel like it's cheating if I give an answer because, again, I've done a lot of research and work in this field. But I know a lot of times anger is a way that kiddos are communicating, right? They're telling it, it could be a manifestation of a lot of other feelings, not just, what we see on the surface.
What comes to mind for me is that you can feel angry, but you can also shout or act angry.
Absolutely. 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 Any other thoughts in terms of what is anger? Okay. Well, anger is a feeling. Okay. And anger is more of a feeling of discomfort that people feel. Okay. Anger is, when you really break it down, it's expressions of past hurts, past pains, past slights, things. It's a conglomerate of many small things a lot of times. Okay. When you think about you yourself getting angry, it's hard to really pinpoint one specific thing that made you angry. Okay. Maybe in the moment, but when you really think about it, it's really a conglomerate of many different things, because the one thing that really made you angry really shouldn't have made you angry, but it was a conglomerate of things that have occurred that maybe have made you start to express this anger. Okay. Somebody tell me, is anger a good feeling or a bad feeling? What do you think? I see some thumbs down, so that's telling me that folks may think it's a bad feeling. Does anybody think it's a good feeling?
I mean, sometimes I think if you have a reason to be angry, right, it could be the appropriate reaction in some circumstances, right? So I really think it depends on why.
And really, that's a trick question. And I see athletes that's neutral. It really is. It's just a feeling. There's no such thing as a good feeling or a bad feeling. Okay. Feelings are feelings. Feelings are things that we feel naturally. Okay. The thing about anger as a feeling is, what is bad about anger is how we express it. Okay. So it's okay to be angry. Okay. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to be sad. Okay. But we want to learn how to express those things appropriately. Okay. And most times we don't handle anger appropriately. Okay. And there's this old saying that I love, that talks about how handling anger poorly can really start to have negative effects on, your health, your memory. You wonder why you're getting headaches all the time. You're wondering why you can't sleep at night and those kinds of things. And that old saying says, holding on to anger is like taking poison, hoping the other person dies. Okay. And that is so profound to me, because it really is true. Okay. And so, as I mentioned, anger is yesterday's pain, yesterday's hurt. Somebody bumped into you yesterday. You spilled coffee, the day before. Okay. You got a bad email, last week. Okay. But you have to learn to start to express that hurt and anger when it occurs. Okay. And the less you express those small hurts, the more it builds up and gets stored inside of us. Okay. And when we do that, that's when anger can become what we call rage. Okay. And rage is anger that has taken over any form of logical thinking and those kinds of things. Okay. The more angry we get and we start to get into that rage, the less we start responding to situations and the more we start reacting to situations. Okay. And what's the difference between responding and reacting, do you think? It really can be boiled down to one word. What do you think? The difference between responding versus reacting.
I would say maybe understanding.
Understanding, absolutely. That's very close to what I was thinking. Obviously, control, being rational versus an emotional response. Obviously, how much you're thinking. Okay. And that's really what it boils down to is thinking. You know, reacting to something is that emotional knee-jerk survival mechanism kicking in, and you're not really thinking about what you're doing. You're just doing something or saying something and that kind of thing. But responding to something, you're taking a moment to really think about, if I respond this way, is this going to be beneficial or is this not going to be beneficial? Okay. So when we think about anger, okay, and expressing that anger, anger is an energy, okay? And we have to get that energy out, or it's going to build up and build up and build up, and it's going to become, rage, okay? And we really have to express be able to express that energy, and we want to do it appropriately, okay? And to be able to do that appropriately, we have to make sure that we are getting that anger energy out in a way that is constructive versus destructive. Okay. And so let's get some examples real quick. Let me ask you guys, and hopefully we'll get a couple of people that may be able to maybe willing to share. When you get angry, how do you express that anger? What is one way you express your anger when you get angry? Anyone?
By shouting.
Shouting, absolutely. As a parent, I see somebody put yelling. As a parent, that is one classic way that we express our anger, especially to our children. Okay. So yelling, what might be another way, or just another way you've seen someone express their anger? I see someone say that they get really quiet, which is
some of my kiddos like to throw things.
Throwing things, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Some adults might throw some things. Absolutely. Okay. And so when we get angry, we really have to think about what it is that we do when we get angry and why that is. Okay. Because when you really think about it, there's really no way to avoid anger in life. Okay. Just by show of hands or emojis, how many of us have never been angry? And if our cameras was on, I would probably have no one raising their hands, and I don't see anybody putting any emojis up because it's a natural part of life. Everyone is going to be angry at some point in time. Okay. but we really have to work to minimize that by expressing it. Okay. So we've talked about us, okay? And we've talked about how we express our anger. Let's look at our children for a few minutes. What are some ways your children express their anger? And I know that someone, I can't remember who it was, said they may throw things or hit. What are some other ways children might express their anger? Or your child in particular expresses their anger?
Clenched
Stomping
fists
feet.
and grunting.
Say it again, Katie, I didn't hear you.
I get some grunting sometimes.
Grunting, absolutely. Yes. Hiding. I see covering ears. I hear a lot of, tantrums. I hear crying. I hear holding breath, and when you think about children and when they get angry, we have to think about that reacting versus responding piece, okay? Because as adults, when we get angry, we sometimes forget to respond. We react a lot of times, okay? And that's as adults in our adult brains. So we really want to think about our children and those children brains who are still developing and still working. And more often than not, a lot of times they're going to react versus respond, okay? And we have to be prepared to handle those situations, okay? And that's one of the main reasons why we talked about ourselves in anger before we even talked about our children, okay? Because if we get angry and we express our feelings by yelling or slamming doors or, tapping hands or butts, okay, or getting mad and hitting, beating tables and those kinds of things, how do you think children are going to learn to express their anger? Okay. So we really have to start with us. Okay. But our children do get angry. And more than often, they're going to get angry and they're not going to be able to respond to situations. They're going to be in the moment. They're very emotional especially in the school age and stage. Okay. There's a lot of emotions. They're still trying to, understand how to manage emotions and those kinds of things. Okay. So a lot of times as parents, we get to the point where don't you get angry with me. I don't want to see that angry face. Okay. But we have to get in the habit of understanding that if we tell our children that they can't get angry and they can't express their anger, that's not a very good idea. Because just like us, if we're holding in those hurts, it's going to build up and volcano. Our children, in the same sense, if they're not able to express that anger, okay, it's going to build up and it's going to volcano. Okay. So we really have to help our children understand that they can express their anger, but they have to express it in a positive manner. Okay. And when we're teaching our children how to express their anger, it's not going to allow it to build up. Okay. They're going to be able to understand and talk with you and work their way through their anger. Okay. And I've kind of mentioned them, but we in our parenting classes, we stress two main ways to help our children manage their anger. Okay. One is by modeling. Okay, as I mentioned earlier. Okay. We have to model how we express our anger appropriately because our children learn from us, even when we think they're not looking. Okay. They're seeing everything that we do. So we have to make sure that when we get upset, we have to make sure that we stay calm. Okay. Make sure that, we're not, being aggressive. Make sure that we're not hitting things or punching things, because that's what our children are going to learn. Okay. And, they see those kinds of things at home. We may be able to manage them at home some kind of way, but what is that going to look like when they're in school and they get angry and they start hitting their friends or they start hitting desks? Okay. Or they start stomping out of rooms. Okay. So we want to make sure that we can help them manage that through us first. And that's why we started with ourselves. Okay. The second way we can really help our children manage their anger is by encouraging them to talk about it. Okay. When they're upset, let them be upset and talk about why they're upset, even if it's with you. Okay. Again, a lot of parents will say, don't be angry at me. Allow them to be angry with you if that's the reason why they're upset. Okay. And talk about why they're angry and work through why they're angry with you. Okay. And you more than likely are going to be able to talk through and give them some perspective on, the situation or what happened in XYZ. Okay. If that makes sense.
Marcus,
Any
can I add
questions?
a
Yes.
little, can I add a little bit of
Absolutely.
information
Please
there?
do.
So, one of the things, and at being a mindfulness school, one of the things that we do for our kids, and many of you may know that I'm a mindfulness practitioner myself, and kind of when I started my classes and coursework, that was kind of the learning piece is, you have to start, the work starts with you. We have one teacher on tonight. I talk about, you have to kind of start with you first. Your energy sets the tone. Your energy sets the tone for your classroom. Your energy sets the tone for your home. And there are a lot of folks that haven't had, perhaps haven't grown up with those great opportunities, experiences. What I've noticed over time is that kids need a lot more explicit instruction on this than maybe was needed 20, 30, 40 years ago. You have to be much more intentional about teaching them, like, it is okay to be angry and to have that experience. So an example in the classroom might, I was just in a classroom the other day, and I have all this great new technology I've spent money on, and a teacher's projector isn't working, right? She's got a lesson, she needs the projector, not working right. And I was there, and so then there's more pressure, right? And I saw her stop, take a deep breath, and say, guys, I'm getting frustrated. I am getting really frustrated. I wanted this to work. I had a plan. And in that moment, she modeled for the kids that it's okay to be frustrated. She named the frustration and why she was frustrated. And she modeled an appropriate coping strategy, was taking a breath and then being able to talk about it. And so those are like many samples of what that looks like. Day to day, like what we're doing for our kiddos to like actually kind of say, this is what it like right now, I am frustrated and this is like how I'm going to handle it. And this is how you can work through that too. Marcus, this is like an intro. This is like an intro, like helping me out, but they have all kinds of really in-depth parenting classes that we could do more at Wakefield Forest or outside if people kind of want to like do it outside of our community. And I know he'll share about that, but like the examples can be really small. And they're happening probably every day, you know, like someone cuts you off when you're driving to work, right? I don't know, they're out of the milk I wanted at the grocery store, you know, how are you going to name and help your kids work through that anger? Or like, that was the last thing, right? Like work didn't go well. You know, I forgot my lunch today and now they don't have the milk. It's not really about the milk. It's about the 6 other things that happened all day and I'm just done. So sorry to interrupt, Marcus. I know I told you
No,
to
that's
jump in
absolutely, it's
and
absolutely
make
fine.
connections to our schoolwork as
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
continue.
And you brought up a very good point too. You really cannot emphasize enough that modeling piece. You know, you can say, don't do this, don't do that as much as you want to. I don't want to see this. I don't want to, but if you're doing it, they're going to pick up on it. Okay. So, that modeling piece goes a long, long way. Okay. And then even in with the other strategy of just talking through it. Okay. Sometimes you have to make sure that you're talking through it and talking about these strategies and these modeling pieces of what you can do, taking deep breaths and X, Y, and Z when they're not angry. Okay. Because when they are upset, it's not going to help. You can't do it in the moment if you haven't practiced it when they're not upset. Okay. So practicing, breathing techniques or, counting down or whatever it might be helpful and have them involved. What is it that might be helpful for you when you get angry? Kids are smarter than we think they are. We don't give them enough credit a lot of times. And they will give us some good suggestions and suggestions that will really work for them a lot of times. Okay. My child has learned that, you know what? She just needs us to leave her alone for a couple of minutes. Well, so she can calm down. And then we can come back and talk about it. That's perfectly fine. Okay. I saw someone asked, if this wasn't modeled well for us as kids, where do you suggest we look for good anger models? And so I'm assuming you're saying for yourself or for your children. I'm not for sure. For yourself, just work on it. Surround yourself with individuals that can help you work on it. Okay. But if you're talking about your children, again, you're working on yourself and modeling it for them as much as possible. Okay. And it's much more difficult when you're in, maybe co-parenting situations or, you have split custody and those kinds of things, because, you may be practicing it in your home, but it's not practiced in the other home. Okay. And, in a perfect world, both parents would practice that. It doesn't happen. Okay. But at least they're getting it when they're with you, at the very least. Okay. So again, and we'll talk a little bit about, what we can do to practice, good anger, managing our anger well as adults, as well as children in a few minutes. Okay. But, allowing our children to talk about it, okay, helps them to process. Okay. It helps them to problem solve. Okay. It gives them the opportunity to think so they're able to respond in the future. Okay. But I want us to understand that it's not going to happen overnight necessarily. Okay. There's still a lot of emotions, and there's children are going to have to practice. Their brains are still developing to understand, how to manage emotions and those kinds of things. So we have to be patient with them and in our anger and those kinds of things. Okay. In addition to talking about it in our parenting classes, we talk about the 3 rules of anger. Okay. And those 3 rules of anger is you don't hurt yourself. Okay. You respect yourself. That means you're not hitting yourself. You're not calling yourself names when you get angry. You're not, hitting your head up against the wall when you're angry. Okay. You're not hurting others, which means you're not calling others names. You're not hitting others, those kinds of things. And you don't hurt the environment. Okay. Respect things around you, which means you're not hitting, kicking things, punching walls, kicking toys, none of those things. Okay. You can express your anger in many, many ways. Okay. But 3 rules that we're not going to do is you're not going to hurt yourself, you're not going to hurt others, and you're not going to hurt the environment. And those things children really, truly get. Okay. And, if you're not hurting others and you're not hurting yourself and you're not hurting the environment, what is left? Talking about it. So when you are really thinking about how can you really help your children manage those kinds of things, letting them express it goes a long, long way. Talking about it goes a long, long way. Modeling it goes a long, long way. But those 3 rules can really help them truly understand what is not appropriate when you get angry. Okay. And depend on, your household or those kinds of things, getting that anger energy out may involve, I know somebody said stomping their children. Maybe stomping is okay to get that anger energy out. Okay. Because we like to have fun with the children in our parenting classes, and we do our anger dance. Okay. And when we get angry, we're not hitting nobody. Okay. We're not hitting ourselves. We're not hitting things around the house, but we're getting that anger energy out. We got anger dance. When we get angry, it may be a stomp as we're dancing. Okay. But whatever you do to get that anger energy out in that dance, by the time you're finished dancing, it's usually laughing and you're having fun and you've gotten that energy out. Okay. So those kinds of things go a long, long way when we're expressing our anger, or when we're helping our children express their anger. Okay. So I see someone mention coloring or drawing for younger children is helpful, and that's absolutely correct. Okay. And so I wanted to think about some strategies and some other kinds of things that we can do to help our children manage their anger appropriately. And coloring or drawing for younger children is very, very helpful. Okay. What other kind of things might you do, or do you do, to help your children calm down when they get angry and help manage their anger? Is there any kind of things that you do? Listening to music, absolutely. And I would tell you, soft music goes a long, long way with helping individuals calm down. Okay. Breathing exercises. There's many different breathing exercises that you can do to help your children calm down. And you can do it as fun as a game when they're not angry, to truly help them when they are angry. Okay. You practice, there's a breathing technique called smelling the flowers, blowing out the candles. You're breathing in, you're sniffing the flowers, you're blowing out the candles. Okay. There's a breathing technique we use that's called branches on the tree, and your arms are the branches on the trees going up and down as you're breathing. Okay. Especially for those younger children, those are things that you can do as fun to practice And then when they get angry, you can just be like, smell the flowers, blow out the candles. You seem to be upset. Let's blow out the candles. Smell the flowers, blow out the candles. Okay, let's do your tree technique. Okay, so they can practice those things. I see taking a walk, having your children take a walk is an absolute wonderful idea. Okay. I had a lady that she used to tell, she told us that she used to tell her children, you know, if they got angry and they need to get that anger energy out, you go out and run around the backyard 5 times. Okay. I had one lady who, you know, said, go out and run around the house 5 times, you know, whatever works to get that anger energy out, you know, as long as they're safe, if it's safe for them to run around the house. You know, that kind of thing to get the anger energy out. Ashley talked about a calm down space. I cannot express how successful parents have talked about giving their child a space to go to calm down when they're angry. Giving them the opportunity to create that space, having them have the opportunity to let that be their space. Okay. You know, it can be, you know, a pillow, and, you know, they can have their little stuffies and squishmallows. You know, my daughter used to have, you know, one of those, like those little canopies around it. And she would go into that space with books and things that they enjoy doing. And when they get angry, you know, do you want to take a few minutes and go to your space to calm down? That's a place that they can go to calm down. Okay, goes a long way. Okay, you know, weighted stuffed animals, absolutely. Sharon says they've learned many strategies with their mindfulness. Okay, yoga, absolutely. Okay, so thinking about these things goes a long way. Okay, a lot of times we get upset and we forget what we want to do. We forget our strategies. We're so angry, we just want to yell and those kinds of things. But taking that moment to be able to step back and respond appropriately, one, we're modeling, but it's going to give us the opportunity to help our children be able to make the right decisions when they're angry as well. Okay. You know, you can have your children, you know, write if they're a little older. You know, they can have a little personal notebook or journal that they can go and write in. You know, they can, you know, if they don't want to talk to you, having a safe adult that you trust that they can go and talk to when they're angry. If it's a brother or sister, a lot of times it's not. But it may be, you know, an aunt that they can go talk to, a grandparent, you know, that you would, and you know, that person would coordinate for them to go and talk to. Okay. You know, some of the older ones, you can have them, you know, record themselves when they're angry. Okay. So they're not necessarily yelling at you or whomever they're angry with. Okay. Ooh, mood trackers. Maybe Sharon can tell us more about that. I'm not familiar with mood trackers. But we really want to understand that anger is not just anger, okay, with ourselves or with our children. You want to talk about the mood trackers a little bit real quick, Sharon?
I can share about that. I mean, I think, you know, the biggest thing that you're talking about is one is starting for them to, you want your kids to start have that feeling like they know that anger's coming, and then creating that pause. That's what we work on a lot in mindfulness, is like creating the like that you feel the feeling. Like kids, when they're really little, they don't even understand the feeling yet. So it's trying to help them like know, like that's the feeling, that icky feeling that you feel. Like, how do you name it? Like, is that sadness? Is that anger? What feeling is that? Because when they're little, they don't even necessarily know, they feel yucky, but they don't know how to name it. And then trying to get them to get the pause between that yucky feeling and then the action. So that's like the modeling. And it doesn't always have to be that you're really angry. It, you know, because maybe it
It
just
could be
finding an
worry, it could be
example.
worry, it could
Yes.
be confusion,
Yeah.
and you know, it could look like anger. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just think you have to be much more intentional about naming like what those things are when the opportunities come. For older kids, like the fifth grade, you know, maybe fourth, fifth, and up through high school, there are like bullet journals are really popular right now, and so there's a lot of tracking tools, mood tracker, where you can kind of look at like what is your day, and you kind of track, you know, what was the strongest emotion I felt today, or and so then you can kind of see over time, are most of my days, am I feeling sad, am I feeling happy, am I feeling, you know, what is that feeling there? And so I think as kids become more attuned to their feelings and understand how to name them, a mood tracker is a more popular tool in like that kind of pre-adolescence, tweens, and teen phases. So, you know, I think that's part of, you know, again, this is just like an introduction, and I know that there's other options and opportunities, and these are the things that the counselors and the teachers also work on at school to kind of help your kiddo. And certainly, you know, when I told Marcus when I said I'd like to offer, parents have asked about a class, they were like, you know, I'm the expert in the building, as was the answer. So Marcus graciously has helped me out, but we, you know, there's staff at the school that can also help, and Marcus's folks can help if you're interested in learning more, you know, or more strategies. So
And I always like to share this picture here, because when you think about anger, anger is really just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, it's really an expression of all these things and more. Okay, you know, a person's really hurt, they may be shamed, or feel ashamed, they maybe feel guilty, insecure, embarrassed, frustrated, you know, lonely, betrayed, you know. It could be they've been provoked, you know, they may be tired or hungry, especially for our younger children. Overwhelmed, you know, pestered, they may feel some contempt that's covered up there, but that's contempt. And so, you know, we really want to take a step back to be able to respond and really get behind what is the reason for that anger. Okay. And being able to really understand or work to have a better understanding at the very least of why your child is expressing this anger or why your child is angry. You can be more empathetic and understanding in trying to help them move through whatever it is that they're truly feeling. Okay. And like Sharon said, even if they cannot express it, you can talk about it. And, you know, well, you know, what are you feeling? You know, are you really scared? You know, are you truly just, you know, are you hurt because, you know, your brother took, took the toy from you, or, you know, because your sister, you know, hit you with her doll, you know, those kinds of things. Are you feeling, you know, are you really feeling, you know, lonely because your brother or sister is out playing, you know, or went over their friend's house, you know, those kinds of things. Okay. So truly know it's really more to what's going on than just, you know, that anger piece. Okay. So that's really all that I have. And that's really all that we want our parents to really truly understand when we're teaching this lesson about anger. Okay. Is to really truly understand our own anger, our own triggers, what it looks like when we get angry, how we can model it for our children. Okay. How we can help our children understand that it's okay to be angry, but expressing it positively to get that anger energy out. Okay. And helping them understand those 3 rules of what not to do when you are angry. Okay. Does anybody have any questions, thoughts, comments about anything that we have talked about thus far?